Greetings to everyone. My name is Hong Kake, and my supervisor cum co-author is Dr. SHAN, and we are both from Taylor's University. The topic of this research is hope and coping strategies as the predictors of mental health amongst Malaysians. The prevalence of mental health issues among Malaysian adults has already been increasing in the past years. However, ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, the prevalence of mental health issues among Malaysian adults has rapidly increased even more. Therefore, it is important to know what could potentially improve Malaysians' mental health for us to help individuals to work on building these positive qualities, to cope with and to promote their overall mental health. Hence, from the aspect of positive psychology, these studies specifically focused on hope and healthy coping strategies. However, studies regarding hope or coping strategies were usually done in the Western cultures or amongst university students or children based in Malaysia. Past studies were also mostly using the brief cope scale instead of the full version. Therefore, it provided a research gap for us to look into these variables, specifically amongst the Malaysian adults. Hope is a positive motivational state that is based on an interactively derived sense of agency and pathways. On the other hand, coping is our cognitive or behavioral reactions or efforts to reduce the unpleasant emotions and the emotional intensity from the stresses we faced. Looking into hope and coping strategies are important because past studies have shown that hope was positively associated with positive constructs and negatively associated with negative constructs of mental health related variables. On the other hand, while most of these strategies, such as active coping, acceptance, positive reinterpretation and growth, instrumental social support, emotional social support, and humor were proven to benefit one's mental health. However, some strategies like active coping, instrumental social support, acceptance, and humor appear to have detrimental effects, such as increasing mental health issues as well. Hence, it is vital to further investigate whether hope and these coping strategies can improve Malaysians' mental health, specifically on their level of depression and anxiety. Therefore, we wish to investigate if hope and coping strategies predict Malaysians' mental health. In specific, the predicting role of hope on depression and anxiety, and also the predicting role of coping strategies, which include active coping, planning, seeking instrumental social support, seeking emotional social support, positive reinterpretation and growth, and humor on depression and anxiety. This study was a quantitative-based cross-sectional design using an online survey method. This study employed a convenient sampling method. The survey was created in Google Forms and distributed through social media. The simple linear regression analysis was conducted using the SPSS version 22. A total of 224 Malaysians, with the majority being female, Chinese, with at least a bachelor's degree, and were employed full-time. The mean age of the participants was 27 years old. Participants were required to fill in 4 surveys including demographic data form, Adopt Hope Scale, the Cope Inventory, and the DAS-21 that measures their demographic characteristics, level of hope, core coping strategies, and their level of depression and anxiety. The result of this study found that hope is a significant predictor for depression and anxiety. Precisely, the higher the level of hope, the lower the level of depression and anxiety. As we can see, by incorporating the goal attainment feedback loop from the hope theory, the low levels of hope might make individuals ruminate on negative thoughts, which can lead to an increase in anxiety. The same goes for depression when you already have negative emotions and experience probably a few blockages during your important goal pursuit process. At the same time, it can increase your depressive moods. Thus, a high level of hope is very important not only to improve your goal attainment, but also to enhance your mental health. Moving on to results of coping strategies, only 4 out of these strategies were significant predictors for depression and or anxiety. First, the greater use of planning and positive reinterpretation and growth predicted a lower level of depression. This is because when individuals utilize planning coping, it probably provides them a sense of control that they can do something to deal with the stressor, which makes them feel less depressed. As for positive reinterpretation and growth, when you interpret situations in a more positive light, you tend to experience more positive emotions, which in turn less likely to develop depressive symptoms. Hence, it is very vital to utilize planning and positive reinterpretation and growth as our core coping strategies. Surprisingly, greater use of acceptance coping and humor coping predicted a higher level of depression and anxiety amongst the Malaysians. When talking about acceptance, we might think it's a strategy that helps us move on in life. Nonetheless, sometimes when individuals start accepting the reality, it could also increase their acknowledgement of their lack of power and control to change the situation, which leads them to ruminate more. Another explanation could be that they thought they have moved on, but subconsciously they have not. Therefore, they still feel relatively anxious and depressed. The same goes for humor coping. Participants of this study could be utilizing more negative humor coping, such as aggressive humor or self-defeating humor, such as criticizing others or yourself as a form of joke. This could lead to detrimental effects, including increasing the symptoms of depression and anxiety. Moreover, joking is not a direct strategy to solve problems, which is why it probably does not help reduce one's feeling of depression or anxiety. Therefore, these strategies may not be the healthy coping strategies for Malaysian adults. This study contributes theoretically by filling up an important research gap, which was examining HOOI coping strategies and mental health specifically amongst Malaysian adults. This study also contributed by testing the HOOI theory and EHS within the Malaysian context. Results of this study also recommend including both planning and positive reinterpretation and growth as healthy coping into the coping continuum for Malaysians. The result of this study is certainly important in the healthcare management. When it is in the hospital or clinical settings, mental health practitioners such as clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, or counselors play an important role in helping clients to increase their level of hope, as well as to teach them to use healthy coping strategies such as planning and positive interpretation and growth to reduce their depression level. Whereas the use of acceptance and humor coping should be avoided. Moreover, in workplace, HRs or employers can advise employees to work on improving their level of hope and also to use coping strategies like planning and positive reinterpretation and growth. Same goes to the university settings. Universities can organize intervention programs to better support students, lecturers, or employees to improve their level of hope and the adoption of healthy coping strategies under stress. It is also important to note that in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic, the Malaysian governments and media play a vital role in wording newsfeed in a hopeful way to provide hope to the citizens, especially with depression and anxiety, despite of the rising positive COVID-19 cases. In conclusion, it is very crucial to increase our level of hope and master selective coping strategies such as planning and positive interpretation and growth to promote better mental health, whereas acceptance and humor coping should be avoided. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.